Estamos en la Bolsa BIVA. Me acabo de encontrar con Olivier Genin, un especialista en la parte de renta fija de Amundi. Y me encantaría que nos pueda compartir un poquito de lo que están viendo. En esta ocasión lo vamos a hacer en inglés. Olivier, thank you for taking the time to talk with us. I think that right now we're having a lot of thinking in the market that the US is not the safe haven that a lot of the people thought about. Can you tell us about what you're seeing in the flows of the money?
Sure. Thanks for inviting me to your podcast today. What we see, at least year to date, is clearly a strong inflows towards euro government bonds, so bonds issued by countries in Europe. We see a massive trend, and that's been going on for 2-3 years, towards cash and cash alternative solutions. And of course, investment grade credit, so bond issued by companies of a higher quality, I would say, still triggers some interest. The other side of the Atlantic, Euro corporates, US corporate, US treasuries, they are still present, but of a less of an extent.
So you have seen a lot of flows going from the US market to European market, or otherwise going from the European market to the US market?
Clearly, I mean, last year already was the first signal. Europe and cash alternative were among the top 3 subcategories of fixed income. That trend continues this year, although we do see some traction in certain segments of the US markets. US treasuries, for example, short term, US credit, short term again. That's a function of risk investors are willing to take. That's also true in Europe, to be complete.
So when you say that people are not investing in the long side, it's because the differential rate that you're having between a 1-year bond versus a 5-year bond is not enough attractive to be investing in a 5-year bond versus a short-term bond?
So there is 2 different ways of seeing it. One way is, and they are effectively, they regroup in the end. One way is to see the premium for the risk taken. So are you paid enough to take longer risk? Today, a US Treasuries short pays something around 3.5% of yield to us. If you increase the length of the risk you take, you will have a premium, but does not seem to compensate investors for the risk taken. The second way of seeing it is the more sensitivity you take, the more risk you take on your portfolio.
Okay.
That's on a forward-looking story. If there is movers and shakers in the market, the longer your sensitivity in your portfolio is, the more your mark-to-market will fluctuate. Both tend to go to the same conclusion. Short duration, shorter risk is certainly what investors are looking for at the moment, with only one exception in the euro governmental bond market, where all maturity, so no constraint on the maturity of your investments. That's the main type of investments that investors are doing, but only in euro govies. Investment grade credit in Europe, investment grade credit in the US, and US treasuries, same pattern. Shorter, less risk, shorter duration.
And when you see that from a Mexican side, what is the Mexican investor doing? What are the flows that you're seeing in the Mexican business?
So, Mexican-based, let's put it this way. When you talk about Mexican-based investors, there is mostly two types of investments. USD-denominated investments, peso-hedged investments. Within those 2 categories, 2 proper sub-investment themes favored by Mexican investors seems to be short-term US treasuries, mostly peso-hedged. And that's this specific bucket of product, of segment, seem to be extremely attractive because most of the players actually are Mexican-based and mostly in peso-hedged.
Okay.
The second type of investments that Mexican-based investors seem to be looking at is floating rate notes. So those are a very specific type of bonds that do not have a fixed coupon. The coupon will increase as much as they will increase with the increase of the base rate.
Okay, so they increase if the central bank increase the rates.
So central bank increase the rate. If you hold a fixed coupon bond, your mark to market will decrease. If you hold a floating rate note, your coupon will go up and your mark to market won't decrease. That's the beauty of this type of product in a rising rate environment. But in any event, of course, that's attractive for any type of investors, but some solutions are available in a peso hedge format, which seems to be very attractive, mostly US floaters, although we do have in the market available some Euro type of floaters solutions available. But USD combined with this floating rate feature, combined with this peso hedged solution, seems to be very interesting for Mexican-based investors.
Thank you, Olivier. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me. It was really interesting knowing more about the fixed income space.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
El contenido de este programa tiene fines exclusivamente informativos y educativos. Bajo ninguna circunstancia debe de interpretarse como una oferta, recomendación o asesoría para la compra o venta de instrumentos financieros, productos de inversión o servicios similares. Tampoco debe interpretarse como prospecto, folleto informativo ni como promoción de productos financieros. No sustituye asesoría legal, fiscal, contable, financiera o de negocios, ni debe considerarse como una recomendación para tomar decisiones patrimoniales. Se recuerda que la inversión en valores, derivados, commodities y activos alternativos implica riesgos significativos y puede conllevar pérdidas sustanciales de capital, por lo que no son adecuados para todos los inversionistas. Todas las opiniones expresadas por los participantes reflejan únicamente sus puntos de vista personales y no representan necesariamente las opiniones de NSC Asesores ni de sus afiliados. No debe tratarse ninguna declaración como una sugerencia específica para realizar inversiones ni como una estrategia recomendada. Algunos invitados al podcast pueden tener o haber tenido vínculos profesionales o comerciales con Rodrigo Román o NSC Asesores, este, Asesor en Inversiones Independiente, ya sea como clientes, socios, proveedores o contactos institucionales. Su participación no debe interpretarse como un testimonio, recomendación ni aval comercial de nuestra parte. NSC Asesores, este, Asesor en Inversiones Independiente no ha pagado ni recibido compensación alguna por la participación de los invitados en este espacio y no asume responsabilidad por decisiones de inversión tomadas con base en lo aquí expresado. En su calidad de asesor en inversiones independiente registrado, no asume responsabilidad por alguna decisión de inversión que pudiera tomarse con base en la información aquí presentada. No sustituye el análisis que cada inversionista debe considerar antes de tomar decisiones financieras.